Hello and welcome to AdaPulse, the Catalyst funded news channel that's keeping you up to date with everything Cardano. And today we've got a real super in-depth article, and it's the relevance of the SEC in today's technological financial era. So it's super topical at the moment, and it's by one of our talented writers, BlockSplained, who you may have seen on the YouTube videos before. And as usual, I'm going to do a little sum up, but it's still going to be a two-part job. So obviously part one is going to be an introduction into the current scenario, but I'm going to talk about the origin of the SEC, the evolution over the years, and some of the scandals and controversies that have already sort of emerged in the past. And then in part two, we'll be discussing the SEC in the modern world, the SEC and cryptocurrencies, that troubling stance. And is the SEC relevant today? And then I'll be rounding it off with what does this all mean? So stay tuned for part two as well. So, for now, click the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell button for the notifications. Now, I am Josh from ATM Stake Pool, your presenter for AdaPulse for today. Let's just get on with part one, shall we? Now, the financial landscape of the United States, and I guess the world as well, is shaped by the sort of various organizations and agencies that strive to maintain order, fairness, and stability. Now, one of these entities is the Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, S-E-C. Now, as the main regulator of the US securities industry, the SEC is sort of tasked with protecting investors, maintaining fair and efficient markets, and facilitating capital formation, if you like. Now, it's been an integral part of the US sort of financial system for nearly a century. So often serving as a guardian, I guess, of investors' interests in an industry that's well known for its volatility and potential for manipulation. But understanding the history and evolution of the SEC is pretty vital, I'd say, in appreciating its relevance and ongoing role in, the modern financial market. So what we're doing today is sort of, traces the SEC's journey from its inception to its current position amidst a rapidly evolving financial world. The origin of the SEC. So the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, as I said, was established in 1934 in response to the stock market crash of 1929 and the Great Depression. So the SEC's mission is to protect investors, maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and facilitate capital formation. So what I'm going to go through now is the SEC's three main areas of responsibility: disclosure, enforcement, and market regulation. So starting with disclosure, the SEC requires companies to disclose important information about their business to investors. So this information includes financial statements, proxy statements, and other kind of documents. The SEC also requires investment advisors to disclose information about their fees and conflicts of interest. Then you have enforcement. The SEC enforces the security laws through civil and criminal actions. So the SEC can bring civil actions against companies and individuals who violate security laws. The SEC could also bring criminal actions against individuals who commit fraud or other crimes in connection with, securities transactions. But then lastly, you've got market regulation. The SEC regulates the securities market to ensure that they're fair, orderly, and efficient. The SEC does this by setting rules for trading, by overseeing the activities of exchanges and sort of clearing houses, and by investigating and disciplining market participants who violate the rules, essentially. Now, the SEC is an important part of the US financial system. The SEC's work helps to protect investors, maintain fair markets, and promote economic growth. Evolution over the years. So as I said a minute ago, the SEC was established in 1934. Now, this was to restore public confidence in the stock market after basically the Great Depression. And since then, it's adapted to the changing financial landscape by expanding its role in response to, the sort of various crises and innovations. So, like in the 40s, the SEC helped rebuild European economies by establishing new regulatory bodies. Then in the 60s and 70s, It addressed the paperwork crisis by introducing like consolidated tape system and advocating the use for technology. But then in the 80s and 90s, it adapted to the rise of the internet by establishing the Edgar system, which made millions of the sort of corporate filings accessible to the public online. And the SEC does continue to evolve to ensure the fairness and efficiency of the securities market. Scandals and controversies. So the SEC has faced several high-profile scandals throughout its history, including the insider trading scandals of the 80s and the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme of the early noughties. Now, these scandals led to criticisms of the SEC's enforcement practices and internal controls and have prompted important reforms. So the SEC continues to face challenges in its mission to protect investors and maintain fair and efficient markets. So, I mean, let's go through the details of the ones I've already mentioned, because you've got, okay, in the 80s, the SEC investigated a number of insider trading cases, including the case of Ivan Boesky, who was a prominent sort of arbitrageur who was convicted of insider trading, and he was sent to prison. And in 2008, the SEC failed to detect the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme, which was probably one of the largest financial frauds in history, or at least at the time. Things may have changed now. The scandal led to the resignation of the SEC's chairman and the passage of new legislation to strengthen the agency's enforcement powers. But, I mean, in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, the SEC was criticised for its perceived failure to prevent risky and deceptive practices by investment banks. Now, the crisis led to the passage of the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, which gave the SEC new powers to regulate the financial industry. Now, the SEC continues to face challenges in its mission to protect investors and maintain fair and efficient markets. The agency has been criticised for its slow response to new financial innovations and for its lack of resources. However, the SEC has also made progress in recent years, such as increasing its enforcement actions and improving its data analysis capabilities. Now, this is where I'm going to leave it for today, so part one. So do go on to part two. There'll be a link somewhere once it's available, but it will be out later this week. But do remember to click the like button, hit subscribe, and hit that bell button to get the notifications so you can get notified of all our content. And do share far and wide. We want as many people to hear all our stuff. Now, for now, I am Josh from ATM Staple, your presenter for AdaPulse for today, and I'll see you in part two.